welcome of Pharma's Professor Speaks. We've been off for a couple of weeks on hiatus due to client business and travel, and we welcome you back, or I hope you welcome us back. Normally this program is hosted by Dr. Stern and Alex Hernandez, but this particular special edition will focus on women's health, and we thought that bringing a female perspective was very important. To that end, I'd like to introduce Mindy Makanui, Office Manager, and Midada Moran, Data and Special Projects Manager. In no particular order, they are cancer, HIV, reproductive health, STIs or sexually transmitted infections, mental health, violence against women, non-communicable diseases, being young, and getting older. For the purposes of this discussion today, we will focus on reproductive health and mental health, which the three of us are very passionate about and coincidentally are in the news almost every week. So, with the upcoming potential closure of Planned Parenthood clinics, and I did hear this morning that the AHCA is going to the Senate tomorrow for a vote. We are very timely in this presentation. So, with that potential of the Planned Parenthood clinics being closed, we felt it important to talk about those services which may be inhibited from being offered to women in need of their particular women's health issues. So, what are those services, and is this more than just an abortion issue?
Well, it's definitely important to note that yes, it's more than an abortion issue, and the reason that there's such a focus on the abortion is there's no line item in the budget for Planned Parenthood. What it says is that there won't be federal funding for facilities that provide abortion services. But Planned Parenthood is more than that. You know, only 3% of the services that they provide are actually abortions. They have much more. Their primary being treatment and screening for sexually transmitted diseases. They also provide low cost or free contraception now, and they also provide pap smears, breast exams, and a variety of other services, including prenatal care.
So if Planned Parenthood is not there, how would these services be provided going forward?
Well, when I Googled the American Health Care Act, it said that it will block $500 million of the federal dollars that are currently going to Planned Parenthood, and instead it redirects $422 million to community health care centers around the United States, which far outnumbers Planned Parenthood clinics. Also, they added that GOP says that the bill doesn't change the Obamacare policy that gives women access to free contraception.
Yeah, one of the concerns about the community health centers, though, is that they simply don't have the capacity to absorb the 2.5 million patients that Planned Parenthood currently services. And one of the concerns as well is that Planned Parenthood tends to set up in places that are underserved. Right. So if they're already underserved, where are the people in those communities supposed to go?
That's a major issue. Why do we think contraception is such a focal point?
I don't think that women's issues are secondary, and I don't think anybody really thinks that women's issues are secondary. I think the main issue is that women don't feel like their voice is being heard because, like you said, they're not represented in any real decision-making group, and I think that's part of the biggest problem. And going back to what we were saying about Planned Parenthood, I just want to say that it's important to take into account how defunding of Planned Parenthood would affect particularly low-income families. Like I said, they are in underserved areas. A lot of times, the Planned Parenthood doctor that they see may be the only doctor that they see. Mm-hmm. And it's even small things like having extended hours. Most Planned Parenthood facilities have weekend and evening hours, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but for somebody who is working a minimum wage job and doesn't have the luxury to take off time to go to the doctor, it's something that's very important.
Major issue, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to segue a little bit now from reproductive health into mental health. Mm-hmm. And once again, the Mental Health Organization notes that, the World Health Organization notes that women predominate in mental health areas and issues and concerns, most specifically with depression, anxiety, and somatic complaints, which are causing serious public health concerns today. One problem is that the conditions are exacerbated due to underdiagnoses by physicians, and that women don't necessarily always seek a professional for assistance. They may seek someone else for help. Why do we think this is so?
Well, I think as a society, we are more aware of mental health issues than we were in the internet and whatever, all that we have to us. But the world moves faster than it ever has before.
Mhm.
And we as women have more to be concerned about. We still have home and family, but now we've got soccer and scouts and piano and ballet, and the list goes on and on. And then we still have full-time, many of us still have the full-time careers that we've got to juggle in the mix.
Major issue.
Yeah, it's definitely something that really affects women. 12 million women a year are diagnosed with clinical depression, and there's still a huge stigma that's attached to mental illness and seeing a mental health professional.
True.
And because of this, women tend to quietly suffer. So even though men successfully commit suicide more often than women attempt suicide twice as much.
Mhm.
And I think part of this is, the stigma that people don't want to go see mental health professionals. And, maybe when they go to their primary care physician, the physician may not necessarily recognize the symptoms because about 30 to 50% of the time, clinical depression is misdiagnosed in women.
And part of that may be attributed to the fact that in many of the professional academic institutions today, I'm talking medical school, nursing school, pharmacy school, to name three in particular, but not encompassing all. The curricula do not encompass mental health issues in a robust sense as what is needed for the care today in society, and that's a problem. We also believe that there are gender-specific risk factors, such as gender-based violence against women that come into play, socioeconomic disadvantages, not only with low incomes, as you mentioned, Mireya, but also income inequality, yes, still in 2017 today. Women also continue to be low on the subordinate social rank scale. And more importantly, women have unremitting care for the responsibility for others.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about mental health issues in a general sense now. Why don't we talk about a few ways in which we might be able to help ourselves in that area?
Well, I found some information on mental health days that I risk saying in front of the boss here. Sometimes it's important that we take a mental health day, but we need to use that time wisely. Binge watching TV may not be the best choice, but we need to figure out why we're feeling off and then make a point to address it. So if, for example, we're running on 3 hours sleep night after night, then we should be using that time to
Just talked about.
Right. One of those things that can hinder is bad habits, like skipping sleep, working too much, or overindulging, like drinking too much alcohol, which is a depressant. So,
That's a problem.
mm-hmm.
Right. Another thing is also holding on to grudges.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom always says that holding on to a grudge is like drinking a poison and hoping it affects the other person.
Pessimists and optimists. I have a story that I've heard for many, many years about the optimistic child who is looking in a pile of dung and says, "Oh, there must be a pony in there somewhere." And the pessimistic child says, kind of smells in here. So I think if we look at the cup as being half full versus half empty, it gives us a better perspective on things. And smiling can go a long way. It's contagious, as is a frown. But I think smiling goes much farther.
Right. Also, perfectionism, having those unattainably high goals or high standards in everything we do, and that's linked to low self-esteem and eating disorders. Not the eating too much cake and cookies, but the real eating disorders. Instead, we need to, as the experts say, healthy striving is what we need to be focusing on. So setting attainable goals and knowing that that mistakes are all part of the process of learning. And enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
Speaking of journeys, I think it's good to get outside. Many of us work indoors. We're involved with our computers, we're involved with phones, we're involved with interaction with our coworkers. It's really important to get outside, take a brisk walk 10, 15, 20 minutes a day if you can. It really helps the brain chemicals, it helps mood elevating hormones, and it just sets the tone for a healthier and better day.
Right. And definitely also clutter. Clutter can definitely make you feel weighed down. So it's important to, you know, evaluate your surroundings regularly and really think about, do I need this? You know, it's research has shown that spending on experiences buys more happiness than buying items. So what they recommend is that if you haven't used something in a year, give it away.
Uh-oh, I'm busted in that regard. Okay. We hope that you have enjoyed this time that we have spent discussing reproductive and mental health issues because they are important to us. We hope that it's been something that's been of value to you, and we appreciate the time that you've taken to listen to us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, follow, and share this video. And if you find it of interest, let us know, and we'll to make more videos like this. We put out new videos every Wednesday, almost every Wednesday. And for more information, visit propharmaconsultants.com. And finally, if you or someone you know is suffering from any mental health issues, please visit mentalhealth.gov for additional resources. And I will also be providing links to that and additional related articles in the description below. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.